hello, my name is Mara and welcome to Books Like Whoa. Guys, my haul this month is a little embarrassing. The only thing I can say is that I think I'm gonna call this my crazy birthday book haul because I pretty much just wanted books for my birthday this year, so I got a lot of like new, nice books that I would never normally buy for myself, or if I did, I would buy them slowly, I wouldn't buy them all at once. Anyway, it was a real treat, so like, I had a good birthday in that respect, but yeah, I went a little crazy, and let's just get into this. Okay, so I've broken these up into like sources of where they came from. So let's start with a couple of arcs that Bethany at Beautifully Bookish Bethany sent me, which was very sweet of her because she wanted to talk to me about them. Well, one of them she wanted to talk to me about, the other one I think she just thought I might like. So the first is The Con Artist by Fred Van Lente? I'm not sure how he would pronounce that. She sent this to me because she wanted to talk about it because there's some weird things in it, and I agree. I read this on a trip I just got back from, and I can't say it was my favorite, but it was interesting, and yeah, let's just leave it at that. And then she also sent me some smut, some romance called Stripped by Zoey Castile. Zoey Castile also writes under, I think, what is her real name, and I can't remember it off the top of my head, but she writes that Bruja series, the Bruja Born books, and I saw her actually at a signing, and she seems super sassy and fun, so I'm looking forward to seeing her take on a romance. Okay, so then let's move to my used bookstore picks for the month, which I have to say were very slim. Like, there wasn't much calling to me here. I did take in a bunch of things though, and I got some pretty darn good credit for that, which I used to buy some of the other books that we'll get to. When I say credit, I mean they paid me for them. I used cash, purchased Amazon gift cards with that cash, and used that. Anyway, these were all free because I had trade. One of them was The Bone Season by Samantha Shannon. Essentially, I did this because it was only $2 for the hardback, and I already had the paperback, so now I just essentially converted this to a hardback. Hopefully I like it, or else that would have been wasting $2 of trade, but like, that's not that big of a deal, whatever. Then I also got Dorothy Parker's stories. Now, I've been wanting to find a collection of her essays. There's one that I kind of have my eye on. We'll see when I get it eventually, but I've also, you know, heard great things about her fiction, so at some point I would probably like to read this, and I think this was also pretty reasonably priced. I got it for trade, so no cash out of my pocket, and it's a nice hardback. And then my last used bookstore pick was My Brilliant Friend by Elena Ferrante. I am super excited to get into this series. I've heard pretty much nothing but great things. I think that this is something that I'm really gonna like, and I like that it's a woman writing about female friendship, is my understanding, and that is something I really love seeing in books. So I'm excited to read this. I also know that she is like considered to be like one of the best people writing today in Italy, so also exciting to sort of get more international flavor in my reading, literary fiction wise. So yeah, I'm excited to get to this eventually. Okay, then I have a Book of the Month Club pick, which I have not had in a very long time. My review of Book of the Month Club, I think, is my most watched video on this channel, which is interesting because I think I was sick the day I filmed it, so I'm very low energy in that video. But anyway, I have had a credit on my account for a very long time, and I finally pulled the trigger on using it, and that was for Spinning Silver by Naomi Novik. Here's the deal, guys. I'm excited about this, and I shouldn't necessarily be because I have uprooted and I've never read it. I have the first book in His Majesty's Dragon series, I think is what it's called. I haven't read that, but I'm very confident that when I read her, I am gonna enjoy her. So I was excited to go ahead and just pick this up in hardback. It's actually quite a bit bigger than I thought it would be for some reason. Yeah, eventually I will read this. It was by far, from this year's Book of the Month Club picks so far, this is definitely the one that has been most appealing to me, which kind of confirms my review of Book of the Month Club, which is like, I think it's a interesting thing to kind of have in your back pocket if there's a hardback release that you want to get at a good price. But for me, at least, it's not really something I'm going to use that frequently, maybe like once a year. So anyway, all that to say, I am excited to have this though, and eventually I'll read it, I promise. And then I went to a book signing / cocktail party for Hope Never Dies by Andrew Shaffer. I'm really looking forward to this. So this is an Obama-Biden mystery, and it's sort of just like a cheeky take on almost like a James Bond type kind of like mystery adventure adventure type book, but with Joe Biden and Obama as the heroes. And I think it's going to be a lot of fun. He did a little reading, and it definitely was, the humor was fun in it. And yeah, I don't think this is anything too serious, but the cover is everything. The kind of like little goodies they had at the signing were really cool too. And yeah, I think that this will be like just some fun light reading. And I think that I'm going to read this during Booktubeathon. So, okay, so that was a new bookstore pick. That was Hope Never Dies. I went to my local bookstore to go to that event. I'm really lucky. I have a great local bookstore called Her Bookshop. It's in East Nashville, Tennessee. If you are ever around, check it out. Parnassus is also great in Nashville, and it definitely, I think, is more known as a bookstore to go to, but Her Bookshop is also beautiful, and like it's very into the aesthetics. It's beautifully curated. It has a lot of like cool books that I think would be good to give as gifts, and I think they really know how to do an event nicely. But anyway, all that to say, speaking of lovely, well-curated bookshops, when I was visiting my BFF in LA, she asked me what I wanted to do, and I think she was expecting me to say like, go to the Hollywood sign, go to the, Chinese Grauman Theater, go to this, go to that. And I was like, well, I mostly want to go to Glossier because I don't want to pay shipping and I just want to pick up the boy brow. And I want to go to the Ripped Bodice, which is to my knowledge, the only all romance bookstore, or like a bookstore for romance novels. And actually when I went there, I would probably say it is absolutely mostly romance, but in general, I would maybe call it a women's bookstore, because it did have some nonfiction and some other things. I got these earrings there. It was super cute and super fun. So I really enjoyed it. If you get a chance and you're in LA, like please go to the Ripped Bodice, because it was just like, even if you don't like romance at all, it's a super beautiful space, and they like have curated it very nicely. It's a super cool vibe. I was really into it. So anyway, I of course had to pick some books up while I was there. So I did get The Wall of Winnipeg and Me by Mariana Zapata. I have this in ebook form, but I wanted to get even though it's paperback and I don't love that, I wanted to get this in physical form because this is probably my favorite contemporary sports romance. And yeah, I wanted to support her as an indie author and buy like a physical book of hers because I've enjoyed her work over the years. And I also wanted to support that bookstore. So I thought, yeah, like this is probably my favorite in a genre. So like this is a good candidate to have as like a physical book. So the other thing that I got at that bookstore is that they have something called Blind Date with a Book, where they wrap up books in gift wrapping and then put a little sticker on it with a like funny, usually description of what's inside. So you're picking a book purely based on the description that they give, and it's sort of like a way to like surprise you and maybe pick up something you wouldn't normally. So I'm not going to show you what they are because I'm actually doing a video. I just filmed the unwrapping for that video where I let this bookstore pick my TBR, and yeah, I'm interested to see how it goes. I think I have some hits and maybe some misses in this, but yeah, so I got these are three mass markets that I don't know how they're gonna go, but yeah, I thought that was a super cool idea and something cool for something that a local bookstore can do that maybe you can't get from an online retailer. So I thought that was a super neat idea on their part. But anyway, so I got these three books as well. So before I get to like what my actual birthday book haul part of this is, as advertised at some point, I thought I would just show you three books that I got off Amazon, either as pre-order. One of these I got through points, and then the other one is something I got for Prime Day. So for Prime Day, I went ahead and treated myself to a Penguin cloth-bound edition, because you guys know I collect these, and I got David Copperfield because I have, I think, all of the other Charles Dickens that they have in this edition, so I thought I would complete that. And for Prime Day, there was a coupon for $5 off a $20 book. This was right at, I think, $20, so this was $15, so that was exciting. And yeah, I've actually never read David. Well, did I? I may have read this when I was a kid. I don't remember. I did read a lot of Dickens as a kid, so maybe, but I don't, let's put it this way, I don't remember having read this, and so at some point I would like to get to it. It is sort of a whopper of a book. I think it's like almost 900 pages. So someday I would like to read this. Then I also pre-ordered Here There Be Gerblins by the McElroy family. This is a graphic novel based on a podcast I listen to called The Adventure Zone. It is hilarious. It's three comedians and their dad who play D&D together every other week. And I knew nothing about D&D before this, but they are so funny and they make this so funny. So I'm really excited to have this as a graphic novel. I don't think I'll pick up all of this, so this is just like the first adventure that they go on in this one arc. I don't think I'll pick them all up, but I think I'll pick up some of them just because they're super cute, they're not that expensive, and yeah, I think it's a cool way to support a podcast that I really like, in a way that is fun for me too. Like, it's meaningful, I get something out of it that I think I'm gonna enjoy. I'm gonna swap this into my Booktubeathon TBR for The Con Artist because I ended up reading The Con Artist before then, so I'm gonna read this during Booktubeathon. And then randomly, I had Amazon points this month. I have an Amazon credit card, so I have points every month, and that's usually how I pick up at least one book. And I used it this month on The Art and Science of Low Carbohydrate Living by Volek and Phinney. This is sort of like one of the most influential text in the low carb, high fat / keto space, and I am going to be doing a where to start with books for keto video in the fall, so I need to read this at some point, so I went ahead and picked that up. Okay, and finally, we're into the birthday stuff. So I got all of these either in real life, so I went to the bookstore with my mother, and that was what she wanted to get me for my birthday, and she let me pick some things out, and then I also got some gift cards because people know that I love to read, and so it's usually a pretty safe bet to get me an Amazon gift card. So people did, and I used them for these books, for these 4 books. So on Amazon, first I picked up Vanity Fair by William Makepeace Thackery in the Penguin cloth-bound edition. I have 3 editions this month, so that's exciting to my collection. I got this, well, just because in terms of how much I had to spend, it worked out. And yeah, I actually read this. I do remember reading this, I believe in middle school, and I remember really liking it. So I'm excited to reread this at some point. It is a honker, so like that will be like a project. But yeah, this is a super interesting book. Becky Sharp is fascinating, and yeah, I think that this is like one of the kind of seminal texts of Victorian literature. So glad to have this beautiful edition. I also got Far from the Madding Crowd by Thomas Hardy in the Penguin edition, clothbound edition. Beautiful. I think they kind of have a little bit of a hard-on for Thomas Hardy because the new ones, they're releasing more of these. They're adding to the number of books I need to collect. Damn you and your knowledge of my collector's need and capitalistic hunger. Well played, Penguin. Anyway, so they kind of have a hard-on for him because they have another, I think they have Mayor of Casterbridge coming out in a couple of weeks, or maybe by the time this goes up, it's already come out. And that's like 3 or 4 in their collection from Thomas Hardy. So they clearly really like him. I'm a little more mixed on him. I have read Tess of the D'Urbervilles, which is really the only thing that I've read from him, and didn't love it. I mean, didn't hate it, but didn't love it. I think I read that in high school though, so high school or college. So it's not been as long ago that I read that one, and yeah, it might be interesting to revisit it. But anyway, Far from the Madding Crowd is one that I have not read from him, so at some point, yeah, I will definitely get to this. I love collecting these just because I love them as editions, but like, I love classics, and I may not read them constantly, but like, I like having them. I like having them in the edition that I plan to have them in forever. And like, I will eventually read of the ones that I have that I haven't read yet or haven't reread as an adult yet. Like, I will get to all of these eventually, even if they're not like the most pressing thing on my TBR. So anyway, all that to say, glad to have this, even though Thomas Hardy, so far I haven't loved, but I'm open to changing my mind about that. Okay, and then I was inspired by Dane at Dane Reads because he has been, I'm very covetous. He has this collection of, I think it's Penguin Mini Moderns, or vintage mini moderns, I can't remember, but they're like these little teeny like short stories, novellas, essays from major writers pretty much I think in the 20th century. And he was talking about one that he read from George Orwell, and it reminded me that I have always meant to read George Orwell's nonfiction because I've had very good success with his fiction to date. So, and like he is an important political thinker, especially of the kind of like early, like mid 20th century. And that's been kind of a time period of nonfiction that I've been interested in recently. I've been reading Hannah Arendt and some other people. So yeah, anyway, this has sort of been on my mind. And because I had some birthday money, I was like, okay, yeah, like let's go ahead and commit. Now, guys, look how thick this thing is. When I was ordering it, so I think this was like $35 normally, and when I got it, they had marked it down to $25. Anyway, this is like 1,400 pages. It is huge. I don't know when I will ever get through all of this, but I'm glad to have it as something that I can dip in and out of as the mood strikes, or as I see specific like pieces of him mentioned. I would like to like hear a podcast, somebody reference that, and be able to go read it. So yeah, this is like quite a tome, and I don't think it's something that I would just like sit down and read, but I'm excited to like slowly over like a decade make my way through this particular book. And then the other thing that I got off Amazon was The Most of Nora Ephron. This is a collection of her nonfiction essays, and ever since I read that book Sharp by Michelle Dean in April, there's several kind of like women essayists and thinkers, like public thinkers, whose work I've been wanting to collect because I do kind of over time want to get to those. So I've gotten one from Hannah Arendt that I've been reading. I have one from Mary McCarthy, and then this is one from Nora Ephron. And I love her work as a screenwriter, so like I'm super excited to kind of get to know her as a writer because I've not encountered her in that way before. Okay, so the last of my birthday books that I got at Barnes & Noble with mi madre, I got 4 things that I'm really excited about. I wanted to get things like my kind of approach for this particular outing were things that I would not have bought for myself, but that I'm very excited to own. So the first 2 are because they are in soft cover, and I've been trying not to collect soft cover, so normally this is something I would just like get from the library. But since my mom was buying it, it was a birthday gift, it was something a little outside of what I would normally get for myself, so I felt like that was like a good approach. So the first is the collected Patrick Melrose novels by Edward St Alban. Now, here's the deal. Do I love that this is a adaptation cover? I don't. Like, that makes me sad. I love Benedict Cumberbatch, don't get me wrong, but like, and in the scheme of adaptation covers, this is not terribly offensive, so like, I'll make my peace with it. That is very shallow. But anyway, I'm going to be curious to see how I do. I've had this author and this like cycle of books recommended to me a number of times as something that somebody thought I would like. And yeah, it's kind of a big commitment to get them all, but I kind of like, part of me wants to sort of just mentally commit to reading the whole thing, even if I am not enjoying it, just because, like, just to see how I so rarely stick with books that I'm not enjoying, that it might be interesting just to see how reading an entire series, even if it wasn't totally connecting with me, went. That sounds like I'm assuming I'm not going to like it. I hope that I do like it because it has been recommended to me, but I think like having all of them in one volume, I'm like kind of making a commitment to myself at some point to read the whole thing come hell or high water. So eventually I will get to this. I also got The Thing Around Your Neck by Chimamanda Ngozi Aditchie. So I have loved her nonfiction, and I really like her as like a public speaker and a public thinker. And I've not encountered her fiction yet. And I think I've mentioned to you guys before that often when I have a new fiction author that I'm about to try, one of my favorite ways to try somebody new is through short stories, because it gives me a sense of their voice and their story, like the kinds of stories they like to tell, without committing to a whole novel where there's a chance that if I don't like that specific novel, maybe I'm missing out on them more generally. So I'm really excited to get to this at some point. I just love short stories, and I really love her, so I'm hopeful about this. Then I went ahead and picked up a hardback of The Poppy War. Now, this is a book that I had started through my library. I had an ebook, and just with everything else that I was needing to read and timing and whatnot, I didn't end up finishing it. I got about 10% in and was really enjoying what I had read, but just didn't finish it in time. So I like the idea that I am no longer pressured to get to this, that I can like wait till I'm really in the mood for it and get through it, because like I said, what I had read was really intriguing to me, very engaging, and I'm excited to find a time where I can really just like charge through this and give it my full attention. So I wouldn't have picked this up if it wasn't a gift in hardback, so I'm excited to finish this up. And finally, the thing that I am most excited about, what feels like the biggest treat of all of these things, and something I don't know if I would have picked up for myself, but is a lovely, lovely birthday present, is the 3-volume edition of March by John Lewis. This is a trio of graphic novels that are an autobiography, basically, of the life of, I believe he's Representative John Lewis. Yeah, he's not a senator, he's a representative. So John Lewis was a huge face of the civil rights movement in the 1960s here in the US. He worked with Dr. King and a lot of other civil rights leaders, and he continues to this day, I think, to be a really important voice about the importance of civil rights. And yeah, like, follow him on Twitter. He like gives me hope and motivation. But you know, I'm really ashamed to say that I don't feel like I know enough about the civil rights era in terms of its various leaders outside of Martin Luther King. So I'm really excited to get to know some of the other leaders in that movement a little bit better through this. The illustrations are absolutely beautiful. This has won a lot of awards, and I'm going to read this as a part of Southern September. So I am reading a number of books by and about the South, by Southern authors about the South, and I felt like this would be a cool addition to it because I don't normally read graphic novels, but this is like historical autobiography graphic novel, and Mouse, I mean, like, in a completely unoriginal opinion, is my favorite graphic novel, which is kind of in the similar genre, I think, in terms of it's a way to get history in a different kind of format. So I'm really excited to read this. Like I said, I'm saving it for Southern September, but I don't know that it'll take me that long because it's a graphic novel and I can get through this pretty quickly. But yeah, I mean, the illustrations are absolutely beautiful. I'm glad to have all three of them in this beautiful box set. So even though these are soft bound, it has kind of the hardback to protect it. So this feels like a real treat, and this was like a lovely present. So thank you, Mama. I really enjoyed this, and this is something that I'm excited to dive into in September. Whew. Okay, guys, that is my haul for July, my crazy birthday haul. I'm filming this like with more than a week left in July, but like I'm acting in faith that I'm gonna stop now and not buy anything else because Mama needs to calm down. That will do it for this haul. So if you enjoyed seeing me go a little crazy with books, please like, subscribe, follow me on the social medias if you are so inclined. I have all that information listed in the description box below. I am at Books Like Whoa pretty much everywhere. And yeah, I hope you guys enjoyed this. I hope you're having a really lovely day, and I will just talk to you soon. Bye.